Today we are discussing on research methodology course for the benefit of BA second year semester 4 introduction to research methods and MA first year first semester course 3 research methodology and social statistics. In this methodology course, now we are discussing on the research design and the types of research design and especially on explorative research design. For this program, we have an expert in research methodology, Professor S.F. Chandrasekhar, Professor and Head HR Department, Sivasivani Institute of Management, Kompally, Hyderabad. Welcome you, sir. So, welcome to our program, sir, and we will start with the research design program. And what is exactly is the research design and why it is important for sociological studies?
Yeah. Thank you, Professor Ramana, and greetings to all of you, dear students. I hope you would enjoy this session as much as I would do, because this is one of my favorite topics. So, what is this research design? Every time we talk about this phrase research design, there are certain important questions that always figure in our minds. Before I initiate or before I introduce you to the concept of research design, I would want you to drive your attention to a poem which I have seen quite long time ago during my college days. If we would go to website or internet, search for The Elephant's Child. It's a poem by Rudolph Kipling. It's a beautiful poem actually. So, in which the poet addresses that there are 6 serving men who keep serving 24 hours a day for every one of us. Now, who are these 6 serving men? So, if you would go through that poem, probably by now you would have got, I have written down on my notes what are those 6 serving men with whom you have to live life through all along. Without their service, you cannot live. What are these questions? Number 1, there is a servant named what, the next one is called where, the next one is called when, and the next one is called how, and the last but one is called why, and the last one is called who. Now, without these 6 questions, it is impossible to live in our lives. And every time when you go to a shop for purchasing anything, I am sure you would be answering all of these questions, or finding answers to all of these questions. But in my opinion, of all these questions, the most important question is what and then why. So, exactly while we are trying to answer these 2 questions called what and why, we would spend at least the next 10-15 minutes understanding why these 2 are important questions and how to answer them. So, now with that we move on to the concept called research design. I think Professor Ramana was asking us about why research design is an important topic for us to discuss as a student of research. So, therefore, now I am sure all of you, probably some of you, explore that if your father or if your elders had constructed a house, he or she, or if your early elders, would have definitely approached the municipality or the metro department for seeking permission to construct the house. Now, how do they do it? They would submit something called blueprint. It is a much bigger sheet, some 132 column sheet, in which you would find a blueprint. Now, blueprint is exactly called the complete plan of constructing a house. Now, what do you find in this blueprint? You would find exactly where the kitchen would be, where the washrooms would be, where the office room would be.
With the dimensions.
Exactly. You would also find where your bedrooms, the children's rooms, the main room, and then the dining room, the hall. Not only that, your backyards, your front yard, and so on. It is a complete plan. It is exactly the simile that I am trying to address in research. So, when you are trying to pursue a concept or a research, you are exactly following a blueprint. In other words, research design is called a blueprint of your entire research activity, right from step 1 until the last. By the time you submit your research report, which is called dissertation, by the time you submit a research report or a dissertation, whatever the steps that you had followed, or in sum and substance called research design. I hope I have conveyed that message, Professor.
Yes. Sir, thank you, sir. So, what are the major types of research design?
Yeah, it's a very interesting question actually, because when you refer to various textbooks, because I remember as a student, I was so fond of reading these textbooks. I can just keep on listing the names of those textbooks. Now, one of my favorite books is called Goody and Hat. It's a beautiful research book, and then followed by my college days, I used to read a book called Nakmias and Nakmias, beautifully written book, and then Monet. These are the names. If I keep on listing out, there could be so many names of authors whom I had really read those. So, what I find in any of these books, the types of designs are varied. That means the names keep changing from one to the other. So, how do you then come to a concrete understanding of these types? So, by and large, there are three types of research designs which I wish you should be familiar with. Number one is called the exploratory research design. Number two is descriptive research design, and number three the experimental design. So, these are the three important research designs that we need to discuss. Probably for this session, we would only talk about exploratory research design, because this is a very interesting design.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, and therefore, we will go a little deeper into it.
So,
yeah.
okay, sir, thank you. Sir, what is exploratory research design and when we could use it in sociological studies?
Wonderful, yeah. So, these are very important questions, why and when.
Why?
So, why? We are talking about why exploratory design. Now, by the very word exploratory, I am sure you would have understood you are attempting to explore something. So, you think there is nothing explored or everything is explored? Yeah, I am sure most of the things are explored during the last 150 years. But you still find there are many things that are unexplored. For example, all these years for thousands, you knew that there were only 9 planets, but today you have how many? The sixth, the last planet Pluto disappeared. Nobody would know where is it today. You have only 8 planets. But subsequently, last 10 years, they found 3 more planets. So, in sum and substance, it should be 12 planets. Now, how did they find all these things for thousands of years? All our Hindu almanacs or any sun signs, moon signs, they are all based on these 9 planets only, but today you have 12 planets. Does that mean that all our Hindu almanacs are incomplete? No, you have Navagrahas in any temple, but 9th Graha is disappeared. So, should we have 8 planets, 8 Grahas? These are some of the important issues. If you really want to find answers to that, you have to come to a design called exploratory research design. And not only that, exploratory design should be conducted when less amount of knowledge is available on any given topic that you had already made a choice of. For example, I was referring to one particular case in coastal Andhra several years ago. There is one particular village where quite a lot of people had kidney problems. So, it is a sociological as well as anthropological issue. At the same time, it is also called nephrological issue in medical sciences. So,
sociology of health.
Absolutely. So, the then chief minister had initiated something called a research into understanding why many people have kidney failures. So, could it be because of water, could it be because of the food, or could it be because of genetic issues? So, what he did is he had asked for the best doctors in the world from Harvard University to come and conduct a research. Now, this is exactly an example of exploratory research design. When your medical knowledge are textbooks, like there are many textbooks like Harrison's, there are quite a good number of medical literature which talks about nephrological issues, that means kidney related issues. But this is very unusual, which is not found in any textbooks. So, when somebody is trying to find out information about something which is not found in the earlier textbooks, that approach is called exploratory research design. For example, you can even say, let us say, I would like to find out how the health among tribals in Nizamabad region, or maybe Khammam region, or maybe this Ongole region, or places like Markapur, all those places. I have seen quite a lot of tribal people having health problems, but how much of research is conducted on them? Why they are suffering from their health issues? If I want to understand their health issues, probably I need to have a design called exploratory research design. So, in sum and substance, what I would try to say, exploratory design is used only when less amount of understanding is available in the books or in the earlier published works. That is primarily the purpose. Not only that, now for exploratory research designs, you do not have initial hypothesis. That is the key. I remember that in my college days, almost 30 years now, I remember in the college days, my professor used to say that if you want to simply understand what is exploratory research design, say that it does not have an initial hypothesis, which means you cannot assume anything in the beginning. So, then how does it go on? Without hypothesis, how can conduct a research? So, my professor told me in those days that exploratory research design ends with proposing a hypothesis. That means in the last part of your research, you would propose the certain hypothesis or certain assumptions as to why there is a kidney failure, as to why the health among tribals is very poor, as to why the status of women in rural areas is still deplorable. If you want to find these kind of assumptions, probably your research ends with proposing such an assumptions, and therefore anybody else could further pursue this research. I think I have given some clarity on what is called exploratory research design. Probably we can go more deep if there is an opportunity or time.
Thank you, sir, for briefing about the exploratory research design. And in the same way, what are the strengths and the limitations of exploratory research design?
I am sure you would be really wanting to know what are those limitations.
Yes.
There are many limitations. Maybe sometimes I am biased. Textbooks might give you quite a lot of limitations, that it's a much intensive research activity. You have to spend a lot of time going through various literature, but you will not find. You may have to interview so many people, conduct surveys, conduct feedback sessions. You may have to go for something called focused group discussions with certain select experts in the field. That is what the former Chief Minister of Andhra Pradesh did while inviting Harvard University doctors to explore why this kidney failure is a serious issue in a village like that. But in my opinion, one of the limitations, one major limitations, I would say that is there anything which is unexplored so far? You think it was only Harvard University doctors who are studying the kidney failures for the first time? For hundreds of years we had kidney failure issues. Not only that, understanding the tribal health of various tribes across the country, you think are we doing it for the first time, or it's already been explored? That's of course I might be biased, but what I'm trying to say is exploratory research design, in my opinion, might be a myth. That's the greatest limitation of this, because there could be honestly, for example, if you are trying to understand the communication patterns among Sunita Williams and her fellow astronaut, they were stranded in the space for quite a long months. Now, how did they spend time, both of them together, for so long? How did they communicate with each other? Because there is a lady and there is another man. So, how did they understand each other? How did they support each other? How did they survive there for long? And their food was exhausting. So, how did they explore all that? That communication patterns, I honestly do not understand there is any textbook which can explain us. So, maybe if Sunita and that other gentleman, I am not able to recollect his name, if these two people's interactions may be there, probably I might ask this question to them. Probably that could be a real exploratory research design. Otherwise, I am sure communications, much research has been done during the last 100 years, I hope.
Yeah.
Not much limitations in my opinion, because the design itself is a limitation in my opinion.
So, communication plays a vital role in this exploratory.
Absolutely. Only through communication we can build adequate understanding, and that results in literature.
Okay.
And once that body of literature is evolved, probably that would help us in understanding for the next generations also, that documentations would help them to understand better. Yeah.
Okay. So, what are the other strengths and advantages of exploratory?
As I told you, other strengths from the similar cases, I would want to know why children in tribal belts, I have seen some of them with my own eyes in the hot summer, with barefoot, they run around and they are playing in the hot summer. So, I was feeling so pity for them. The parents are elsewhere in their fields, and what is the fate of these children? Who will take care of these children? Are they really going to the schools? If I want to know, I think exploratory design could be one of the best methods. That itself is its own strength. because I don't have any literature today. Even if I would ask any artificial intelligence or generative AI, I don't think enough literature on this. So, because even generative AI has to search through various databases on the internet. So, you will never find this kind of information on the internet. I have seen many tribal people suffering from severe health problems, and they try their own native medical approaches. They don't work, they deteriorate themselves. So, why would they wait for long? So, maybe if exploratory research design is really utilized, you might find some answers to that. I think in itself is one of the major strengths. Otherwise, as I told you, most of the things are already explored. So, therefore, this research could be very less consumed or very less used by the sociological researchers, in my opinion.
Okay,
Sure.
okay. Sir, can we compare this explorative research design with diagnostic research design?
Not exactly, because in diagnostic research design we will try to have a hypothesis. So, hypothesis talks about cause and effect. So, in exploratory we honestly do not have any knowledge. That is why I had to call the people from Harvard University. Probably they might explore, but even they could not explore finally. So, it is neither ever genetic, nor it is related to the water consumption, nor is related to the food consumption. So, the cause is unknown even today. In medical literature we call it idiopathic, that means cause unknown. So, which means there is still scope for using exploratory research design to go through and try to understand this cause unknown. There are many health issues which are causes unknown. For example, COVID-19, even today we do not know the cause unknown. There are so many conspiracy theories on it. So, in my opinion, exploratory research design is far different and distinct from the diagnostic design, which we will talk about in the next session. Diagnostic designs refers to the cause and the effect, establishing the relationship between the cause and effect of any problems or any phenomena under study. So, I hope I have clarified the distinctions between these two.
Can you suggest in which studies we can make use of this exploratory research?
I have already given two examples. Number
in
one,
another example.
tribal health is one issue.
Okay.
And then communication patterns among the astronauts I was talking about.
So, in sociological studies?
In sociological studies, for example, if you want to know why the youth of our villages are still not pursuing higher studies, that is a very painful experience which I have seen in my time, because 70% of the youth in this country still do not have access to higher education. And you are all very fortunate students, because your parents are able to sponsor you for this kind of studies. So, we have a responsibility to know why 70% of this youth in this country, which predominantly lives in the villages, they do not go for higher studies, and very few people would go for higher studies and benefit from the what you call the privileges for higher education professionals. I think that is a lopsided understanding, a lopsided development in our cultures. So, if I want to know why the young people in this country still in majority do not have access to they do not want to, probably could be because of financial issues, could be because of psychological issues, could be because of scholastic issues, there could be many other issues, but why are they not pursuing it? If you want to know, I think exploratory research design is another method, but probably there may have been some studies, but still I go back to my own bias. Nothing is unexplored. Probably why 70% of youth are not pursuing these studies, I might give explanations, but do I have a concrete research evidence? I do not have, honestly. I may say economic necessity, I may say maybe because I am from villages, I am afraid of going for higher studies in a city. These could be some reasons, but I am not sure. So, if I want to be really sure, some concrete evidence, we have to conduct an exploratory research study.
How best we can make use of this exploratory research design in studying of the social issues?
That is what one potential, I am only suggesting as a potential. For example, the concept of dating is picking up so much in this country. Not only that, the concept of living in partnership or living in partners is also rapidly spreading across. In addition to that, same sex marriage is becoming a major issue in this country. You can bet on it. I have talked about it almost 10 years ago. that in this country same-sex marriages people will be demanding for. One of my PhD scholars have done a study on same-sex. What are the psychosomatic issues of same-sex people? Transgenders, you call it otherwise. So, if that is the case, honestly I am telling you, you do not have much literature on that. Not only that, there are potential questions like, what would happen to the society if same-sex marriages are promoted? Fortunately, thank God, Supreme Court has rejected their case, but I am sure it will resurface again because politicians will encash on it. So, when it resurfaces again, do you think with the great force it comes, is there anybody who can stop it? I do not think. So, when same-sex marriages are promoted, what would happen to the society? What would happen to the progeny? What would happen to the next generation? So, do we depopulate this nation if same-sex marriages are promoted? It is becoming a lifestyle. So, addressing all these issues, there could be a potential research study using exploratory. I hope I have conveyed the message. So, I have gone a little deep into social realities because there are so many social realities our nation is encountering, facing today, particularly the dating culture is so vast in Bangalore, Hyderabad also. Hyderabad has become more promiscuous today, unfaithful today, and there are so many social challenges that are plaguing our societies, and we are all having a responsibility for that as academicians, as sociological researchers. Besides that, not only that, on the other hand, you also have substance abuse, which we call de-addiction, drug addiction, sorry, that's becoming rampant amongst youngsters, and that is destroying their lives, destroying their futures. Don't you think we need to explore more understanding so that we can design solutions, schemes, programs so that youngsters can find a bright future? I think that's our responsibility. I think as sociological students as well as management students, we have a responsibility for all these kind of challenges in our own society. If we cannot set our own society in order, you have no right to talk about anybody else across the world. I hope I have broadly covered those.
So, yes, thank you, sir. It is very much clear from your words.
Yeah.
For the studying of certain social issues, we can make use of exploratory research design very much. And in the same way, what is the significance of exploratory research design with other research designs?
That's what I told you. If I am proposing a hypothesis, that's what I told in the mid of the session. Exploratory research design studies end up with proposing hypothesis, whereas the other designs will start with hypothesis. So, that's the great connectivity between exploratory research design and the remaining designs, which we will talk in the future. Now, exploratory design starts with, a study starts with something unknown, but gradually after the completion of the study, we will present hypothesis for the future studies. Now, when somebody uses exploratory study outcomes, I think they are starting with descriptive design or experimental design, that we will talk about in any future sessions. But I have shown you the clear-cut connection between exploratory research design, which proposes hypothesis in the last chapter of the study, whereas any future researchers want to dig more deep into it, they will use those hypotheses in their first chapter of their research study. That's the connectivity, strong connection. That's the connection. For example, if exploratory research design can give us some clues, some scope of information about why the health of the tribals is very deplorable, why the status of women is very deplorable even today in these modern times, and why the kidney failures are prevalent still today. Even if I have an iota of understanding of that, that can give me further connection to my respective designs, like subsequent designs like descriptive design, diagnostic design. Then experimental designs, probably we can start conducting some experiments based on the information available from the exploratory research design. But as I told you, exploratory research designs are very, very costly, time consuming. Maybe it could be conducted for a long period of time. By then sufficient opportunities are foregone. Maybe people would have died also probably from kidney failure issues. So, it has its own limitations, but in sociological research, we always have this issue of ethics. Now, yeah, even if some people die, but we are learning lessons from that. We have quite sufficient lessons learned from COVID-19, right? Now, earlier they said that it's a bacteria, somebody says it's a virus, somebody said something else, somebody says it is a lab cultured virus, somebody says it is a naturally mutated virus, and it has mutated so many times. So, we have lot of understanding now that all because of exploratory designs. But tell me honestly, how many times we will conduct research like this? After 100 years we did it. Because the plague started back in 20s, the similar plagues are starting now in our times. So 100 years ago, your great-great-grandparents would have experienced that kind of a plague, but now you are doing it. But 100 years of knowledge, what exactly, how did they survive? Quite a lot of people died because there was no modern medicine. 1920s only invention of modern medicine. Before 1920s, people were not depending on, they were all depending on traditional medicine. So as a result, many people passed away. But thank God your grandparents have survived, and thank God you have survived. Now you have to make use of this understanding to help the next generation of people. I hope I have conveyed my understanding of the further implications of exploratory research design.
Sir, so far you have in detail explained about the what is research design and the types of research design. In the types, you have explained about the exploratory research design, what is design and its limitations, strengths, significance, and you have taken very good examples, number of examples, how best we can make use of this exploratory research design for sociological studies. How far it is useful for other social sciences in research?
Other social sciences, probably we can talk about management, or probably you can talk about specializations in management, marketing students. Next time when I go to any retail outlet, I would see brand new products, quite a lot of detergents, quite a lot of cosmetics, quite a lot of toiletries, quite a lot of food. Varieties of products are being introduced. How did they come with it? It's only through exploration. So my suggestion to all of you, whether you are a sociological student or any other social science student, next time when you go to a retail outlet, keep watching all those brand new products. There are many toothpastes which are manufactured in India but are not in the market. But somewhere there is a demand for those products. So you can explore all these things. That means you have started exploring in research.
Sir, thank you so much, sir, for coming over here and discussing about the research design and particularly exploratory research design. Thank you very much, sir, for coming over here. Thank you.